We are back on YouTube. We've got a brand new space called the Dive Pod. It's an office that I've converted so that I could bring in guests to interview so that they could share their own personal dive stories. They're going to sit in the chair right over there that you can't see yet. But I thought, hey, we have 8,000 cables, mics, computers, switches, you name it going on in here to make this all work. So we probably should take a moment to test it all out. And why not take an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects that I'm very passionate about when I'm talking to recreational divers. I've got my What If sweatshirt on, and so really the question is, why don't you, as a recreational diver, carry a spare mask? It might be handy one day. I'm Diver Dave. I've still got the coffee. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back. It appears all of the technology continues to work, and so let's talk spare mask. Mask skills, in my experience, is one of the areas that really can cause some stress during your certifications, especially in the pool side. Obviously, by the time you hit the open water, you've demonstrated enough competency in your mask skills to move on to the open water portion. But by the time you get your C card, you will have demonstrated competency in your mask skills. And I mean partial flood, full flood, the ability to take your mask on, put it back on, and clear it. So is it really that far-fetched to think that you could also deploy a spare mask? I mean, it's basically the same process. I would take my spare mask out, and I would install it and clear it, and off we go. To me, that kind of makes sense. When you think about open water diving and how we teach it with the buddy system, we always say that the buddy is there for most of the emergencies. And of course, one of the bigger ones being an out-of-air emergency, we are taught during our certifications how to share air and make a safe ascent. This, to me, all makes sense. But what doesn't make sense to me is that the one area that the buddy just cannot provide redundancy on is actually a spare mask. I mean, obviously, they're not going to give you their mask. I mean, that would make no sense. And so even if we talk about the scenario where a buddy team is, 60, 70, 80 feet, whatever the depth is, and they're exploring through a reef, or it might be like a little wreck or something, and a buddy loses his mask. Well, obviously now you can't really see. I mean, you can see a little bit depending on the water clarity and the situation, but at that point, you've lost your mask. Even if at that moment your buddy has figured out, oh, shit, my buddy doesn't have a mask, now what? Well, the dive is over. That's a guarantee. And now you have to sort of fumble around and sort of figure out how to make a safe ascent with one of your buddies not having a mask. Now, the good thing is, as we're taught, and I hope you're taught, that you actually don't need a mask to breathe. So obviously that is a pretty easy concept to understand. But the fact that you are now 60, 70 feet down with no mask on is obviously going to be an added stressor. And then it depends on the person in terms of how they deal with it. But really, it's just a stressful situation, and it certainly is going to bring your dive to an end. And hopefully that buddy team can ascend up safely at the safety stop, because don't forget, we still got to do a safety stop, and then we can end the dive safely. That's best case scenario. Now, the worst case scenario on that is the buddy teams have kind of drifted apart, like all buddy teams do, and now one of the buddies lose their mask. And they fumble around, they almost get it, but it's gone. And now what are they going to do? Search around in the dirt for it to try to find it? And even if they find it, can they put it on and not have it flood? But chances are, because of the stress, they may not even find it. And so how do they then signal their buddy? If you've practiced it and you can actually deploy your light from your kit with no mask on, then you might have a better chance. But have you practiced that? A lot of people don't. And so now we're in a scenario where one of the buddies, no mask, the stress levels are rising, and the other buddy may not even realize it yet. So what do? Well, probably you as long as you have enough air, and by the way, can you even read your pressure gauge at that point? But hopefully the buddy realizes it, and then you're now back to scenario one where you're trying to do a safe ascent. Or if you think about it, because you are already able to deal with mask issues because your training has taught you that, why not just have a spare mask, either in your BCD jacket pocket or your tech shorts? But the BCD jackets, even if you're a brand new diver, have tons of space. And as we all know as new divers, we probably have all kind of stuff jammed in the pockets and all over our BCD jackets because we think it's cool. But the one thing we don't consider taking is the spare mask. And I'm just curious, I'd love to see in the comments as new divers or just people who are, been around and have some experience, why is it that we wait to a self-reliant course to actually require a spare mask? What would it be in terms of, one of the things that would force folks not to consider buying a mask? Is it the cost? Because you don't really need a very expensive mask to be a spare mask. You just need something that can get you, out of that situation. And the good news is if you have a spare mask, you deploy it, well, now it's not an emergency anymore and you get to continue your dive. So I'd love to hear the comments. This is just a quick video to make a test on all of the technology going on in the office and also get to talk about something that I'm always chatting in the recreational space about. And that is, right from the get-go, why don't we actually carry a spare mask? It's a good question. I'd love to see some comments. Practice hard, dive safe. Take care.